Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so glad to have you guys here. I'm Sky Lewis with Now Included, and on behalf of our entire team, thank you for carving out time out of your day to be here with us. We know life is busy, caregiving is demanding, and time is not something any of us have in abundance. The fact that you chose to show up for yourself today does not go unnoticed. So, we wanted to make sure that no matter where you are, this conversation is accessible to you. Of course, we want to know who's in the room with us. I see you guys writing in the chat where you're coming from. I see Houston, I see Dallas, Texas, all over. So, look at you guys showing up. Now, for those who are new to us, Now Included is a health equity platform dedicated to connecting underrepresented communities to the health resources, information, and clinical trials they deserve access to. Because the reality is, for too long, communities that carry the heaviest health burdens have been the least represented in the research meant to help them. So, we're here to change that. And today is a perfect example of that mission in action. Because it is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, we're bringing together expert knowledge and community to have a real conversation about something that touches so many of our lives, and that's Alzheimer's and caregiving. The truth is, caregiving today looks a little different than it did generations ago. The weight is heavier, the resources feel further away, and too often the caregiver is the last person being taken care of. So, we're here today to bridge that gap between duty and self care. With that being said, I want to take a moment to introduce our incredible guest. She's a licensed social worker, gerontologist, TV personality, best-selling author, and honestly, the person you want in your corner when it comes to anything aging, Alzheimer's, and caregiving. With over 25 years of advocacy, she has made it her life's mission to show up for those who so often show up for everyone else. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Macie Smith.
Thank you, Sky. Happy to be here.
Yes, absolutely. So before we get into it, I want to hear from you guys. So please tell us in the chat what best describes your connection to caregiving today. Are you a current caregiver, a former caregiver, supporting a loved one, interested in brain health, or a healthcare community advocate? So go ahead and put your answer in the chat. Of course, there are no wrong answers here. Every experience in the room is valid. So put your answer in the chat. I know y'all are out here. You're a caregiver, supporting, healthcare community advocate, part-time caregiver. Nice. Look at this community. This right here is exactly why we're here today. So we can get into it. Dr. Macie, I want to start at the foundation because I think so many people come into this conversation carrying misconceptions, things they've heard, things they've assumed, and it can actually be a barrier to getting help early. So can you help us demystify Alzheimer's a bit? What do people get wrong? And what are the early signs families and caregivers should actually be paying attention to?
Sure. Especially in our community, we think or have been told or both that Alzheimer's is a normal or natural part of aging. As people age, they're going to get a touch of it. You can't have a touch of it. You can't have a little bit of it. Either you have it or you don't. And so we're taught that that's learned behavior. And we simply assume that it's a normal part of aging. Alzheimer's and various forms of dementia are not a normal part of aging. If you see that your loved one or someone you know who's providing care, they're forgetting typical things that they should remember, and it doesn't happen overnight, it happens gradually, it begins to impair their day-to-day routine, such as driving, making decisions, making choices, remembering dates that they've always remembered, and it's getting progressively worse, then that could be an early sign of dementia. I won't say that it is because there are so many variables that go into play with a diagnosis of Alzheimer's. And it could be a modifiable risk factor or modifiable behavior. But those are elements that you want to seek additional professional guidance, such as their primary care physician, If they have a geriatrician, that would be most ideal, because a geriatrician actually specializes, a medical doctor that specializes in caring for those over the age of 65.
Mhm. Yeah, that's really important. And I think what you said, it just reminded me of something deeper because a lot of people don't even identify as a caregiver. They think of themselves as a daughter, a son, a spouse, just doing what they're supposed to do. So
Hmm.
let's get a little bit into that as well, the caregiver identity. How does someone hold on to who they are while also carrying this responsibility, especially when they're also managing things like a career, their own family, their own life?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I think so many times when people become a family caregiver, their identity does sometimes get lost. Their God given role is overshadowed by their professional role as a caregiver, because it still is a job. I don't care what family member that is to you. It could be your spouse, which is the number one caregiving group. It could be your mom. It could be a grandparent, aunt, and uncle. What happens is you begin the work. It's intuitively. And because you're doing the work and you're doing the most, what the kids say, you're doing the most for that person, and you're not considering yourself, you don't identify as a caregiver. As you stated, this is my God given role. This is what I'm supposed to do. But when you don't identify as a thing, you do not reap the benefits and the resources of that particular role or position, because you're not putting yourself out there to say, this is who I am, this is what I do, and this is the level of help that I need. And what that does is it causes a caregiver's health to become more at risk for not only comorbid conditions, but also it puts them at higher risk of developing Alzheimer's, because they're not recognizing the signs of their health emergencies and basically doing the things to ensure that they have quality health care and quality of life, by making sure that they attend their routine medical appointments, their routine dental appointments. If they have an ache or a pain, that they seek the assistance of a medical provider to see what's actually causing it, so that way you can head off what could potentially be very, very damaging.
Mhm. Absolutely. That's definitely a great point. So now that we've talked a little bit about Alzheimer's and what it looks like and identity shift that comes with caregiving, I want to make sure everyone leaves here today with something tangible. So, Dr. Macie, what are some small, sustainable brain health habits that people can actually start today? Not anything overwhelming or expensive, just small, doable steps. I know I like to do memory games. I've always liked that, but I'm like, okay, like I'm getting older. This is definitely something that I want to keep implementing. So I just do that. Like every week, I'll do like a digital memory game just to keep my brain, going. So what are some other small steps people can do and start
Yeah,
today?
that's wonderful. You want to keep your brain engaged. You want to continue to learn new information. When you learn new information, your neurons are firing off, you're building a cognitive reserve. So if you were to develop Alzheimer's disease, you could possibly delay the onset of dementia, which is a group of symptoms that a person displays as a result of having Alzheimer's disease or other progressive types of dementia. Also, you want to eat well. You want to make better, healthy, better choices in terms of diet that are healthy, low salt, low fat, low sugar. Notice I did not say no salt, no fat, no sugar, because honey, some of us live to eat like me. We don't eat to live, but as we get older, we learn the shifts, and how to cognitively make a decision. I know how that fried chicken tastes. I don't need to eat it every week. I don't even need to even eat it every month. You want to modify your choices when it comes to diet and food choices, so that way you can have a healthy balance. You want to stay active and exercise. You should stay active at least 30 minutes a day, at least 5 days a week. And I'm not telling you to go out and do Taibo or wrestling or jiu-jitsu or whatever, but you want to stay active. You want to be sure that that heart rate is raised, so that way you can begin to ensure that there's a proper amount of oxygen and blood flow going to the brain, which is the essential thing that you need in order to be who you are and to be well, because your body does what your brain tells it. So you want to be sure that your brain is healthy. The things that you do for heart health are the exact same things you do for brain health. What's good for the heart is good for the brain. You want to be sure that you are maintaining a healthy blood sugar level, maintaining a healthy blood pressure level, healthy cholesterol levels. You want to know your numbers. Everybody's number for blood pressure and cholesterol and blood sugar are not the same. You want to know your level. One of the things that you all do here and Now Included, which I appreciate so much, is ensuring that people of color have information about research, how to get involved in research, what research actually is, because it's not going into the laboratory getting poked and prodded. You know, there still is stigma as it relates to the healthcare system when it comes to Black people. There's still fears. There are still just really hesitation and trust in the healthcare system. And so when we begin to build community, we begin to build trust. And then we have an open heart and open mind about what research actually looks like, and how when we contribute and take part in the research, the treatments and the medications and the strategies that are created are including us. They include our genomes, they include our way of being, they include our culture. So the treatments are better suited and better fitted to be able to afford us just as much quality of life as anyone else. Right now, you know, our treatments are based on Eurocentric. You know, those are the folks who actually participate in the research. And so the data that's drawn down and the data that's reviewed and the treatments that are created and developed, the science behind it is based on people who don't look like us. Sure, you know, a lot of them work, but at what cost? You know, there could be, you know, help in one area when it's causing damage in another area. And so we want a comprehensive, holistic look at the pros and the cons and the benefits and the risks. So if you have an illness or short-term illness and you could treat it in more of a holistic way, as opposed to taking medications and antibiotics at every stop, you want to do that, because there could be some long range effects as we're treating acute illnesses that could be detrimental in our later years. You also want to be sure that you stay engaged with your community. Be around like-minded people. Be around people who may not be as like-minded. That's going to challenge your way of thinking. That's going to challenge the things that you do. It's going to cause you to think. Whenever you're able to think, that's a good thing. When you're on your phone and that quick key comes up and tells you how to spell the word, X off of that. You don't need no help. Work that thing out of your brain. You know, use those cognitive skills and those cognitive abilities, because that's going to reduce your risk. We know now that lifestyle is more of a risk factor than genetics and heredity. So those are the things that you choose to do today and every day to ensure that you maintain optimal health. You want to get enough sleep. These are things that you can do right now. They're modifiable. You can address them. Adults need to get anywhere from 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day. Notice I said day. I didn't say every night, because if you're a caregiver, I know if your loved one is up at night, you up at night. But if you can get you some sleep, you have to have that, because it's going to ensure that you have a healthy brain and that it's fully functioning, reducing your risk, but also allowing you to show up well for your loved one, the person or the people who depend on you for quality of life and quality of living. Those are the top ones that I can think of. Sky, engaging your brain, eating well, exercising, getting enough sleep, and managing comorbid conditions.
I love that. You broke it down perfectly. I love how you mentioned the physical aspect, the dietary aspect, the importance of community. I was actually at a community event about 3 weeks ago, and they were doing health screenings, and I got my blood pressure checked, and it was free. So it's just things like that are just so important. Being in community, getting that access to those type of resources. being, taking care of yourself. I am someone who definitely needs to do better at getting more sleep, but it's just conversations like this that just inspired me to just prioritize my health a little bit more, keep doing those brain exercises. Like you said, when I have my phone, don't use the autocorrect. Let me figure out how to spell the word on my own, just making
Yes,
sure that my brain is constantly being engaged. I'm constantly doing things to improve my health in all aspects. So you broke it down perfectly, Dr. Macie. I do want to pause here and bring the community into the conversation. What is one word that describes your caregiving experience? And it could be two words, that's okay. But we want to hear from you guys. What's one word that describes your caregiving experience? I know they're going to come rolling in the chat. While they're rolling in, Macie, I love how you mentioned the importance of community, and how that can actually improve our health. Because I feel like in this day and age, a lot of people, it's just like independence. That's just like such the norm, to be independent, work in silos, just be by yourself. But it's like, no, community is important and it actually helps us. We need community. So I love that you reminded us of that. And community advocacy could be anywhere. It doesn't have to be in person. It could
for
be
sure.
virtual, like we're doing right here, right now. So I just love that you mentioned that as well. And I see people dropping in the chat, their caregiving experience, stressful at times, rewarding, selfless, blessing. I love that. I love that. I absolutely love that. Look, community. Um,
Um,
and I have another question for the chat. And really think about this one. But what is something caregiving has taught you about yourself?
I love that folks are putting selflessness.
Yeah.
Um, I love that, but that also gives me a little pause because I'm hoping that caregivers are considering themselves and putting themselves within the natural routine of caregiving, because you can be so selfless, sorry, yes, so selfless that you forget about putting yourself first or including you or just loving on you. So I want to know if the folks are still including themselves and loving on themselves and being compassionate for themselves, and like, okay, Tamika said, giving themselves grace and just really giving. Self-compassion is huge
Mhm.
because you're gonna mess up, you're gonna feel guilty, you're gonna get tired, you're gonna get burdensome. So you want to be sure that you have a way to say, hey, you're doing the best you can, you're doing a good job. Self-soothing self-talk is absolutely
Mhm.
necessary when it comes to caregiving.
Yep. Someone said vulnerability is not weakness. Exactly.
Oh no. Do you know how strong you have to be to cry in front of somebody?
Mhm.
That's strength, baby.
Yep.
Especially a man. I love to see. I get a little nervous at first, but then I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Yep. That is strength. Strength. Being surprised at how I was able to show up for loved ones during that time. Yep. And this is the perfect segue because I did want to talk about the mental aspect of caregiving. I think it's one of the most under talked about parts of caregiving, mental health and burnout. We see it especially in younger generations who are stepping into caregiving roles earlier than they ever expected to.
Mhm.
So, what does burnout really look like for a caregiver? And how do you even begin to address it when you feel like you can't afford to stop?
Yeah, well, it looks different on different people. Some
Mhm.
people have higher thresholds than others. And so burnout is physical, emotional, and mental depletion. You ain't got it to give anymore. And so we want people to recognize the early signs because we don't want you to get burnt out. Because when caregivers get burnt out, not only is their health in jeopardy, but the vulnerable person, the care receiver's health is also in jeopardy. And I never want a caregiver to be in a situation where they are causing harm unintentionally, and it could have devastating impacts. I've had, caregivers in the past who have been so burnt out, so overwhelmed, dealing with compassion fatigue, they've engaged in physical abuse unintentionally, but that did not stop us from pursuing legal action because, that is a crime, that you can't do that. But it oftentimes it actually put even more of a battery in my back to be able to get information, connect people to community, so that way they won't get to the burnout stage, to whereas they are causing harm, even if it's unintentionally. You still have to, accept consequences for the things that you do. But in that same breath, I understand why it happened and how the person came to that point. If you start to develop headaches or coughs or a cold, or have these aches and pains that over the counter medication isn't curing, prescription medication isn't curing, you could be dealing with chronic stress. That is the number one culprit that leads to burnout. If you're starting to experience sadness lasting longer than 2 weeks, you may now be dealing with depression. That could be an early sign that you're dealing with burnout. If your mind tells you to get up and go, but your body tells you you can't and you won't, there's a conflict, there's an internal conflict there. You could be dealing with early signs of burnout. If you start to display emotional, I would say, incongruency, meaning you are acting out of character, you're easily agitated, you are angered easily, and you don't even consider any apparent triggers. There are no apparent triggers that's causing this anxiety, that's causing this agitation, that's causing this anger and this frustration. You could be dealing with early signs of burnout. If your eating habits change, if you're eating more, if you're eating less, if you develop a rash that you cannot get rid of, all those are early signs of burnout. If you start to feel as if there is no hope, if you start to feel as if you're not good enough, you could be dealing with early signs of burnout. And at the moment, that very moment when you realize you could be dealing with burnout, I need you to reach out. I need you to reach out to whoever or whatever your community consists of, because that's what they're there for. You should have a confidant in your family. It could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could be a neighbor, it could be Now Included, Acclinate, it could be the Alzheimer's Association, Lisa's Care Connection, Synergy Home Care. Whatever it is, you want to be sure that you're connected. You have that number ready to go, because at first signs, if something don't feel right, if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling sad and you're not feeling like yourself, you need to reach out, because now you have addressed or interrupted or interceded at a pivotal moment where you could actually address what's causing the burnout. You can address what's causing the stressful situations, and you can put systems and strategies in place so that way it won't progress.
I love that. I love that. I think we all needed to hear everything you just said, because burnout, it's real and no one is exempt from it. So that was needed. Like you said, having that person, those people that you can just always call up, text any given time, so they could be your soft landing. And again, it just goes back to the importance of having community, even if it's just one person.
Sure.
Because burnout is real.
It
Burnout.
is definitely a real syndrome. It is not a colloquialism,
Mhm.
it's not a moniker. It is an absolutely real syndrome.
Yep. Yep. Tamika said it showed up in my blood pressure. Yep.
It
It
absolutely will.
affects
Very,
everything.
very tangible.
Yep. So true. This has just been such a rich conversation. I know you all have questions. So we're going to open it up now. If you have questions for Dr. Macie, please drop it in the chat. We'll read them out loud. As y'all can see, she is the expert. She has so much
Oh,
wisdom, so much knowledge. So please, 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 please feel free to ask any questions for Dr. Macie. Yeah, this is needed. For sure. I just really felt the burnout part, and I'm trying to, find better ways to deal,
yeah.
with
So
burnout.
balance is key.
Balance is
Balance
key.
and integration.
For sure. Like you said, just eating better, moving my body, getting more sleep. Yeah, things like that. Okay.
So I don't know if you see this or not,
Mhm.
Sky. There's a question here from Ebony from Instagram. Do you see that?
No, you could
Okay.
read it.
The question is, do you know of tests that can be ran for children that have parents with Alzheimer's? So there is now you can get a genetics test. Genetics testing is typically not covered by insurance. It could run a couple $100, it could run a couple $1,000. But you can get a genetics test, and you could say that you want to test for the Alzheimer's gene. There's also a blood test now. It's called LumiPulse. Insurance doesn't cover that test either. However, there are community organizations that are doing this test for free. Care Access is one of those organizations, and they'll do a blood test, not just for children, but for anyone that could detect whether or not the person has beta amyloid or tau in their bloodstream. That doesn't necessarily mean that the person is going to get Alzheimer's disease, but that does mean that they're at higher risk and that they need to seek further medical assistance and attention from the primary care doctor and or neurologist. So you have the genetics test, and then you have the LumiPulse blood test that could give some indication whether or not the person would be at higher risk.
Okay. We have a question from Tamika. She said, what is it called when you become a caregiver for your parent for a short period of time?
What is it called when you become a caregiver for your parent for a short period of time? A caregiver. Tamika, you're not a short-time caregiver. You're not a part-time caregiver. You're a caregiver, because I'll tell you this. Even if your parents don't live with you, or even if your parents are in a senior living community, you're still a caregiver. You may be a caregiver from a distance. If you want to give it that name, we can give it that name, but you're still a caregiver. Your responsibilities will just look a little differently. You may not be providing hands-on care, but you're providing supervision. You're thinking about them. You're providing oversight. You're monitoring. You're following up, and you are worried. Of course, that's that little thing in the back of the head that's just not going to go away. And so I'm glad you asked that question, because even if it's for an hour, you are a caregiver, because at any given point in time, you could still require that your parents could still require some level of support in that area at any given time going forward. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. And another question we got was, are there financial services for caregivers?
So I always tell families to seek the assistance from their local AAA, which is Area Agency on Aging. Every county has an area agency on aging. Even if it's not, like I'm in Orangeburg County, even if it's not in Orangeburg County, it might be in Richland County. It's going to be in a county that covers your particular zip code. They have respite vouchers. They have they can make referrals to senior centers. They offer referrals to Meals on Wheels and a myriad of other resources. So connect with your AAA. Now, the AAAs do not provide financial resources to caregivers. However, they make referrals for services for caregivers. Medicare, traditional Medicare part, if the person has traditional Medicare Part A and B, not Medicare Part C, because that is Advantage plan. Now Medicare is offering the Medicare Guide program, GUIDE, that's specifically for caregivers caring for someone living with dementia. It could be Alzheimer's, it could be frontotemporal, it could be Lewy bodies. As long as they have a cognitive impairment, Medicare is providing financial resources to a home care company to provide up to 3 days of respite. They're also providing a geriatric care manager like myself to help families navigate the long-term care system, understanding the resources that are available, connecting the person to resources. They also provide support for training for caregivers, because caregivers actually bear the brunt of the full responsibility of providing care. And so once they leave the doctor's office with whatever medications or treatment they're going to get, typically as the disease progresses, there is none. The family has to manage that care at home. So they need the education, the training to be able to do that. The Medicare Guide program does provide for that. I also encourage you to get with a certified elder attorney to help manage your loved one's finances. I typically recommend doing Medicaid planning, because Medicaid would pay for non-medical long-term services and supports, but you have to qualify both level of care and financially. The elder attorney will help you better preserve your loved one's assets and to spend down if they need to, but they'll develop a Medicaid planning document so that way the person would be in line to qualify for Medicaid. That way, Medicaid would pay for those non-medical services and supports.
Nice. And I think you just answered one of the other questions we got.
Okay.
What resources are available for families who do not have insurance or have limited access to specialists? So that was really helpful.
And I'll say too, if a person is in the early stages of Alzheimer's disease, there is a treatment for that now. Before, we've only had treatments for the symptoms, but there are two treatments. It is lecanemab and donanemab. The primary care physician or the neurologist or their doctor has to be a part of the approval process. So they have to be an approved provider to offer the Lumipulse and the lecanemab and the donanemab. And so you want to talk with your loved one's primary care physician about the two treatments to determine if your loved one is a candidate to begin the treatments. They're infusions. You have to go into the doctor's office to get the infusions. I believe it's the lecanemab now has in-home infusions that you can actually take at home and don't have to come into the doctor's office. One is twice a month, one is once a month, but you have to be a good candidate for it. So you want to talk with your doctor, your loved one's doctor, about whether or not they're a good fit for that particular treatment.
Nice. That's helpful. Another question in the chat. One thing I've noticed caregivers feel is guilt when they take time to themselves, travel, etc. How can we support the caregivers in our lives through these times?
Yeah, I would say show up for them with tangible options. Don't ask, let me know if there's something I can do for you. Just do it. Just go over and say, Mamie, I'm going to stay here with your mama for a couple of hours. Go get you something to eat. If Mamie don't go, maybe all three of y'all just be sitting there talking, right? But guess what? That isn't out for her. Even though she didn't go out, she still had opportunity to have company and engagement with someone that she's comfortable with, that she's close to. And even in that moment, a lot of times we think that the caregivers need to go out. Sometimes they might just need someone to have a conversation with them that they both can benefit from. And so when you show up for them, show up tangibly. Don't ask them if they need support, just give it to them. And they'll accept and be receptive of some part or piece of that. And whatever part or piece they accept and they're comfortable with, that is an outing for them. That is a break for them. That is hope for them. And it certainly is a help.
Absolutely. I love that. Don't just offer, just do it. Just take the initiative, just do it. Because sometimes people have a hard time asking for help, which we all know.
For sure.
They just want to, take it on the chin. So if we could just take the initiative and just do it instead of just offering, that'll be best. from Tiffany. Do you need an elder attorney to do that, or can you navigate the Medicaid process on your own? I think she was.
You can navigate the Medicaid process on your own. It is absolutely very, very convoluted. It's time consuming. As long as you have patience, you can most certainly do that. Because what happens is when you apply for Medicaid in your state, if they don't qualify for Medicaid, they should give you a rationale why. And so once you better understand the rationale why, then you can start planning. Medicaid now, and they've been doing this for years, they do a 5-year look back. So back in the day when you could, move the house out of mama's name and put it in Cha-Cha's name and they get Medicaid, the next day that doesn't happen anymore. You got to wait 5 years. So you want to start planning as soon as possible. But yeah, you can try to navigate that Medicaid process yourself. The application is online. Like I said, it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of follow-up, and a lot of effort. We're seeing that Medicaid is, in many states, is backed up anywhere from 3 months to 9 months with a response of whether or not the person is eligible to receive Medicaid or not.
That's helpful. And one more question, then we can always answer any more questions after. How can we tell the difference between normal aging and Alzheimer's?
It depends on the person. You need to know the person's behaviors, their personality, how they accomplish things prior to the concerns you're having. So when you see that person is asking you the same question over and over again, and that's different for them, if they're forgetting typical routine things like how to make a banana pudding, and they've been the banana pudding maker for 20 years in the family, then that is indication that something could be happening and that it's normal. It's not normal aging. We always forget things, but we remember either within a couple of minutes, we may remember within a day, or sometimes it may take us a couple of days to remember. But we understand that may be because of stress. It may be because somebody moved it and put it in a different place that I didn't put it in. So when you can rationalize why you forgot this thing and can't remember this thing, this one thing that's an isolated incident, it's probably normal age memory impairment. But if that forgetfulness and memory loss begins to cross-pollinate in other areas, such as I might have forgotten that today is Wednesday because I was on vacation last week, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm forgetting that today's Sunday and I go to church on Sundays, and been going to church on Sundays for 3 years, 35 years. I'm talking about 3 years because I'm just getting back into it. Or they're getting lost in familiar places. They're getting lost in their own neighborhood. They're getting lost driving back home from work or from the grocery store, or even getting lost in their own home. They're getting turned around in places that they should not get turned around in because they've been there for a long time. That's more than normal aging, because now it's impairing their ability to do routine things. So I hope that adds some clarity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for these questions. And Dr. Macie, thank you for meeting every single one of them with so much grace and wisdom. It really, really is appreciated. Before we close out, I did want to do something a little different because we've talked a lot today about pouring into others, and now we're going to take just a few minutes to pour back into ourselves. Caregivers give so much, you carry so much, and you deserve this moment just as much as anyone else in your life does. So I want to walk us through a quick guided breathing exercise. So go ahead and find a comfortable position wherever you are, whether you're sitting in a chair like I am, on your couch, in your car, wherever you are, exactly where you need to be right now. So if you feel comfortable, you can gently close your eyes, not if you're in a car. But if not, you can just soften your gaze downward. So let's start by just arriving. Take a moment to release whatever you walked into this webinar carrying today, your to-do list, the worry. Just for these next few minutes, it can wait. Now let's breathe together. Inhale slowly through your nose. Hold gently. Now exhale slowly through your mouth. Let's do that again. Let's do that for a couple more times. So inhale, hold, exhale. releasing anything that no longer serves you in this moment. One more time. Inhale, filling yourself up. Hold it. Now exhale. Okay. How'd that feel, Dr. Macie? How's
I
everyone?
love it. I do that every morning, honey.
Yeah,
I love it.
that was helpful. Now, when you're ready, gently bring your awareness back to the room, back to the webinar. Maybe roll your shoulders back, sit up a little taller. You just did something so simple but powerful. You chose yourself for a few seconds. And that's not small. For people who spend so much time pouring into others, choosing yourself is an act of courage. Um, so as we close, I want you guys to drop in the chat what's one action you want to prioritize after today? Is it your mental health, learning more about brain health, starting family conversations, joining a support community, or exploring resources? What's one action you want to prioritize after today, right after this webinar ends, or right now? Um, Feel free to drop it in the chat. And Macie, I'm going to turn the question to you. What's the one action you want to prioritize after today?
Oh gosh. I think for me, it's being intentional in the moment.
Hmm.
Because, I have to do my breathing every morning. I have to do mindfulness,
Hmm.
but you want to be intentionally in the moment and receive whatever that moment has for you. And I say that to caregivers as well. I don't like to tell people what to do and what not to do, but I would say I think it would be helpful if you considered accepting your loved one for who they are in the moment where they are and enjoy them wherever they are, um, because that is a moment that you will never get back.
Absolutely. I see people saying things are going to prioritize learning more about brain health and having conversations with my family. That's one of mine too, starting
Mhm.
those family conversations.
That's
Mental
good.
health, learning about my own brain health and self soothing, getting more rest. Yes. Taking more time for myself to really recharge and reset. I want to prioritize sleep. Yeah. Sleep is another big one for me. Um,
Not for me. I'm
I
getting
love that
that.
for you. I love that for you.
I love it for me too.
So important. So important. And just a couple more hours for me. Like typically I'm in the 6 hour range. I just want to bump it up to like seven
Yeah,
and a
just one
half
more
hours.
hour.
One
Just
more
one
hour.
more hour.
Absolutely. Continuing and closing the loop on family conversations, getting back to 5 days of movement, walking, jogging, stretching. I love those. I love those.
Yeah.
These are all amazing. So
Very
Dr.
tangible.
Macy, yes, very tangible, very, very, very tangible. I want to give you the floor for a final thought as we wrap up. Please also share with our community where they can find you and your incredible work.
Okay. Well, thank you, Sky, for moderating this discussion today. And thank you all for showing up and being intentionally engaged. I will say for each of you on the line today, you made a decision to put yourself first today, to connect with community, to gain information, to be able to prioritize the knowledge that you will gain throughout your journey and being able to apply it to your life and your loved one's life. I want you to always put yourself first. It's not selfish. It is an act of survival. You won't make it if you don't. Um, I want you to ensure that you focus on the needs of the person, the personality of the person, and the heart and soul behind the person, and not the disease. That's not something you can do anything about, but you can do everything about their quality of living and how they engage with the world around them. And you hold the key to that. So I am on all social media platforms at Dr. Macie Smith. That's Macie. And my latest book, The Complete Dementia Caregiver's Guide, is available everywhere you get your fine books. It's also available in audio form and also Kindle on Amazon and also Barnes and Noble. Thank you all so much for having me today.
Absolutely. And before we close out, the moment we've all been waiting for, our giveaway. Everyone who registered and joined us today was automatically entered, and we are giving away not one, but two amazing prizes. Our winner is walking away with an $80 spa gift card, because you deserve to be pampered, and a copy of Dr. Macie's book, like she just mentioned, The Complete Dementia's Caregiver's Guide, an incredible resource you will want to have in your hands. And our winner is, drum roll please, Sasha Ridgway. So Sasha, if you are with us right now, drop a comment in the chat to accept your prizes. So excited for you. It's amazing.
Congratulations, Sasha.
Congratulations, Sasha.
So Sasha gets books and the spa?
Yes.
Woo!
9 yards. Yes.
She can read the book while she at the spa.
Yep, exactly. And again, reiterating what Dr. Macie just said, her books are available on Amazon as a paperback, Kindle, audiobook. So whatever format works best for you guys, it's there. So I truly encourage you all to check it out. I know I will be placing an order for this book just to have as a resource. So I'm really excited.
Thank you.
Okay. Waiting for Sasha to accept. Well, as we wait, I just wanted to thank you, Dr. Macie. Like, truly, the way you show up for this community, it really, really does mean more than words can say. And to everyone who joined us today, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your openness, your questions, your words in the chat. You showed up for yourselves today, and that takes courage. If there's one thing I want you all to leave with, it's you are not alone. Whatever you're carrying, whatever this caregiving journey looks like for you, there is a community here that sees you and wants to walk alongside you. So stay connected with us at Now Included. Download the app, join the Brain Health Circle, and keep showing up for yourself the way you show up for everyone else. But this was amazing.
It was wonderful discussion. I hope everyone took away something that's going to make their day, their life, their journey just a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I know I did. I know everyone else can attest to this. This was truly, truly great. And thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Now, if that is it, I'll see all of you guys later.
Bye-bye.